on the Gainbridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Varsity House BirdFeed on the Ball State Gainbridge Network. Here is your host, Joel Godet.
Is this a live video or recording?
We are live.
All right.
Head coach James Whitford joins us with another edition of the BirdFeed Live, as always, presented by Varsity House. That is James Whitford. My name is Joel Godet. You can catch this live on Facebook. You can catch the archive on YouTube, on the Chirpcast podcast feed, or on the ISC Sports Network across the state of Indiana as well. You guys are back home on Tuesday, tomorrow night, as we record this live, which has to feel good after being on the road for one game last week, but it was the longest one we have all season. I'm going to Buffalo with the flight.
Yeah, it was. But it's always good to be home and a great crowd. Last few times we played and expecting the same thing.
I was going to say, and you take that for granted a little bit, but I think this year when you had no crowds last year, it makes a bigger impact. But you guys have had some phenomenal atmospheres inside work.
Yeah, it's been great. I don't take it for granted one bit. You know, the community's been incredibly supportive. We got the students out in big fold for that ESPN game against Toledo. And students, if you're out there, keep that coming. And when we get the students in the community, that's when the arena's really rocking. Yeah,
the Toledo game was probably one of the best atmospheres I've seen for a basketball game. Certainly made an impact, I would think, down the backstretch.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it's just fun to be a part of, and it's, you know, when you get a great crowd like that, it's more fun for everybody, including the fans. It just creates the right kind of energy in the building, and great for the players and great for the community, and really what college basketball is all about.
We haven't had a chance to talk in this setting since that Toledo game, so I kind of want to go back and look at the last couple of games for you guys, because Toledo, obviously the number one team in the league, had that been on the road, it would have been a quad one victory for you guys. You played clearly very well in that game, and then you played really well against Buffalo on Saturday. You didn't get the victory, but you played well enough too. At this juncture of the season, like, you're obviously playing for an automatic berth into the NCAA tournament. You're not playing for an at-large situation. So you're trying to put yourself in the best situation at the end of the year.
Yep.
Do you feel like that arrow is pointed in the right direction?
Yeah, I do. You know, we met as a team yesterday to get a sense of where we're at. And, you know, if the season ended today, we'd be a 6th seed in the conference tournament. And we really control our own destiny that way. You know, we're not going to get top 4 seed. But, hey, look, at the way it works this year is there are no home first-round games. Everybody's up in Cleveland. And for us, first goal is, hey, this is going to be the 7th year in a row, knock on wood, that we would be in Cleveland. That's only one of 2 programs in the conference that would have 7 straight participants of getting there, and then get the best seed possible. And then once you get there, it's what we talked about. You know what the difference between the 6 and the 3 seed is in the first game? What color uniform you wear. That's it. And we feel like there's anyone in the league that we can beat, and we just got to get ourselves the best seed possible and be playing our best basketball when we get up to Cleveland.
What is different in your eyes for where you guys are right now and where you guys were 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
You know, we're making progress, and it's one of the things about progress is never linear. You know, you're going to have, you know, some trajectories more jagged than it is in a straight line, and that's been the case for us. You know, we've had our better games are a lot better than they were a month ago. Our worst games are not near as bad as they were, or much better than they were a month ago. But we still have ups and downs, and I don't expect that to change. But for us, it's about learning. You know, I thought in a funny way, like we lost that Central game. Oh, we played pretty well, and yet we had, you know, some defensive lapses that, you know, if they didn't have a great shooting night, we probably would have gotten away with. And but you know, they did have a good shooting night, and we did have the defensive lapses, and just some really concentration mistakes that gave up some points. And but we learned from them. It's what I love about our team is, you know, when we're there watching them, there's no what we call BCD behavior: blame, complain, defend. You know, it's just, hey, own it, accept it, move on. And I think that's why we keep getting better.
We talked to you about this postgame on Saturday, and David Eha pointed it out. He was listening into one of the huddles, and he said, hey, guys, good decisions. You were making really good decisions for the bulk of the Buffalo game. How have you seen that progress? And what's the growth process you've noticed in terms of particularly a young roster making better decisions as the season wears?
Where you probably see that the most for us is on the offensive side of the ball, is just a little bit more patience in our shot selection and understanding that we want to play inside out. Big thing for us is the percentage of our shots that come off of paint touches. When we get about 2/3 of our shots come off of paint touches, we're going to have really good offensive nights. When that number gets down, if we're 50-50 or somewhere in that area, we're not going to be as effective on offense. And sometimes being a little more patient early and continuing to probe to get those paint touches, which are so important for our team.
Easier said than done, and maybe why is that sometimes that you see, and you've talked about this, when things get harder, you get away from that, and it gets to more one-on-one or ISO plays or what we'd call hero ball. Why is it so difficult sometimes, particularly when you're a younger team, to stick to, hey, we got to get it into the paint, we got to get paint touches, be it by a guard or when you've got a really big weapon like Peyton Sparks?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and it's I guess I would answer it this way, like a lot of people outside of the arena don't understand the emotional pressure that athletes feel, and I could go to our Central game. One of the issues that we had in that game was we fouled 3 jump shooters in the course of the game, and it's not like, hey, listen, they're not trying to do it. They want to win so bad. It's like Central started throwing in all these crazy shots, and it's like, man, they want it to go well so bad. They're working so hard. They want to win the game, and it's like, I can't let them make it. And you just, you lose a little bit of the discipline from almost trying too hard. And the same can happen for you on the offensive end. It's, hey, the other team goes on an 8-0 run, and unless you're in there and you often don't know how that feels. And in wanting it so bad, it's like I'm trying to make a play, and just getting the composure there is really critical. And on a little bit of an off tangent, watching the game last night, the Super Bowl, I thought about it in the beginning of the second half. Like, you think about the Bengals come out and score that touchdown, and then the Rams' first play is an interception. Those guys are obviously pros. But, man, that can be a shock to your system as a team. And the leadership on that team has got to be like, hey, we're good. Hey, what? Let's learn from it, lock in, but you got to have your composure. And so being able to get dialed into literally the next play and being able to let the last 2 ones get off your docket. And that's not easy for the Los Angeles Rams. It's not easy for the young Ball State Cardinals, but that's the point of the game that we've been trying to address here for quite some while.
Let me stay on the off tangent. Did you have any rooting interest last night?
Yeah, I lived 5 blocks from the Bengals Stadium when I was at Xavier, so Liam would have been born a stone's toss or a stone's throw away from Paul Brown Stadium. So yeah, Bengals, both because I lived there and also because it makes working with Iha a lot more fun when the Bengals do well.
Man put on a hat during the game the other day. I haven't spoken to him yet. We've just traded text messages, but he's going to be very sullen when he shows up tomorrow.
Yeah, a great year for the Bengals.
Yeah, you can't win them all, I guess.
And just tell Lehigh, hey, there's always 20 years from now.
It's almost 30, right?
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. As long as they keep Burrow, I got confident they're going to stay right where they're at.
Let's talk about where you guys go from here, because you guys are back home. You have Northern Illinois on Tuesday, which, if I'm correct, this is the first repeat game for you guys. No, it's Toledo.
You're not correct. And Buffalo.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
all right, so this is the third repeat game for you.
Yeah.
It's not like I've done them all. It's the third repeat game for you guys. So I guess this is applicable to Saturday as well. Second time through in a league like this, when you know teams so well, what changes?
Well, a lot changes because your scouting gets a lot more specific. And then you get a chance to see what they did against you the first game, what really worked, what didn't really work. And so, yeah, a lot changes. And I think sometimes it's even more of a quote-unquote chess match when you're dealing with coaches that have played against each other for a long time because you have years of history of what kind of tweaks you've done against each other. But a lot changes. The scouting gets much more specific. The teams know each other much better. I think you tend to have more, usually, err on the side of lower scoring games because teams know each other so well. But this is a big game for us. It's a really big game. And we obviously let Central go, and that was one at home here. We wish we could get back, but we can't. So got to be able to get Northern here at home on Tuesday.
Northern's an interesting matchup because I feel like they are a better collective than the sum of their parts. Not that they don't have good parts, but more than most teams in this league, they are a very solid unit, and it's why they've been successful. What's your take on what's made them go as a grouping this year?
Well, one of the things that the guy that really stands out to me for them often is Caleb Thornton. To me, he's a really good point guard. And to me, Rashawn's done a very good job of his team plays hard. They play together. You watch them on offense. They have good kind of fundamentals. The ball pops around. You don't see guys holding the ball. And they understand. They play pick and roll basketball. They understand, and Caleb Thornton is the straw that makes that go. He can score off the pick and roll. He can split doubles. If you overhelp, he can pass. He can get 10 assists in a game. And he's fun for me to watch as a coach because to me, he really plays that position the right way. And they got good pieces around him. Williams and Hankerson, those guys can score, and big guys can finish. So to me, they're a good team. They're a dangerous team. We played well at their place to win a close one, and we'll have to do the same here.
How jacked was Tyler Cochran to play when you guys went to DeKalb?
I think it added a little bit more meaning, certainly for him, just because he's got a lot of history there. But he loves those guys. He's still close to a lot of those guys, and so I'm not. I think it did add a little more significance, but I don't think it's personal. He's got a lot of friends there, and I think they'll stay that way. That's
Tuesday night inside Worthen Arena for Ball State men's basketball against Northern Illinois. The women are home Wednesday night, and then men's volleyball home Thursday night as well. So big week, 3 consecutive home games inside Worthen. Outside of the schedule, though, a couple other random things I wanted to talk to you about. Mm-hmm. One of was that Josh Wetzel, who's the voice of the Buffalo Bulls, came up to me post-game and goes, Peyton Sparks is the best freshman he's the best freshman I've seen in this league in years. And I took a step back and I was like, I'm trying to think who else has won freshman of the year. And I went back and I looked, and James Thompson and Javon McCray, and I was trying to remember what they were like as freshmen, because your perspective gets colored by obviously what they turned into eventually. But how good is Peyton in your eyes in terms of the scape of what freshmen have looked like in this league in your time here?
He's great. He's probably the best way to look at it is, forget freshman. I think he's an all-conference player. Where he'll end up on that spectrum, we'll see. We got a third of the season left to go, but if the season ends today, he's in the all-conference team. And that's not easy to do as a freshman. That's saying you're one of the top 10 players in the whole conference as a true freshman. And I think the other part you just can't take for granted with Peyton is his work ethic and his competitive character. And I'll tell you Wally Zerbiak's story that would remind me of Peyton. And when Wally was coming out to the league, I would get all these calls from these NBA guys who would feel like, hey, he's not – these other younger guys have all this upside, and maybe Wally's further along, doesn't have the same upside. And I remember saying to them that the thing you're not taking into account in Wally's upside, you're looking at his age, his growth, all that. You're not taking into account his work ethic and his competitive character. I said, some of these other guys that you think have more upside, Wally's going to get a lot better than them because of who he is every day. Well, I would say the same thing about Peyton in the sense of he's got a lot of improving to do, not because he has, he's going to grow another 2 inches or any of that kind of stuff, because of who he is every day, his process, his work ethic, his character, that I think he's an all-conference player as a freshman, and I think he's going to keep improving, and is going to be an absolute blast for us to watch here, develop into who he can be.
I obviously never saw him play a game until he got here, so I'm not familiar with what he did at Winchester High School. But can you go back and walk me through, when you saw him for the first time, what did he look like, and what was the progression in your mind of how he would get to where he is now, and has it happened faster than you thought?
Yeah, a little bit. What you saw when you saw him in high school was great hands, great feet, great feel. And for big guys, hands you can't. There's a certain age where you have to have good hands, and if you don't by that age, maybe you can improve a little bit, but not a lot. And great feet. And if you have great hands and you have great feet and you have great feel, then you have a lot to work with. Those are the things that are hard to teach. All the other stuff isn't very hard to teach. And he had all the key things that you really look for in a big guy. And then, secondly, we knew, a lot of people around him and got a lot of feedback about who he was, his work ethic. You talk to him, he'd say all the right stuff. What you never really know is somebody can work hard as compared to their peers in high school, Well, most of the guys that come here do. So now how does that compare to when you get to college and now you move up a level? And what you never really know where they're going to rank on that sphere until they get here. And but what he did this summer from a conditioning standpoint, from a commitment to eating the right way standpoint, was not only excellent for a high school athlete, it was excellent for a college athlete. And that he would have done more than I would have expected for him to get it done that fast. And but since he's gotten his body right, am I surprised he's a great player? No, because you could see it coming when he was in high school, and just couldn't emphasize enough what a special kid he is.
How big a deal was the getting his body right? Like we've talked a lot about he lost 30 pounds, but how much dramatic impact did that have in making him a better player right off the bat?
No, night and day. No question. I think Peyton would be the first to tell you is from just a conditioning standpoint. It's so demanding. I mean, we play him like 33, 34 minutes a game at his size, and it's so physically demanding. You got to be in unbelievable shape. And for him, it's not just about how you train. It becomes about how well you recover. How do you stretch the right way? Do you get your treatment? Do you understand the importance of a good night's sleep? Are you eating breakfast every day? Are you hydrating the right way? All the training and the recovery things go together. But the great thing about Peyton is you just have to show him. There's no you don't have to meet him at 6 to make sure he's doing it. He's doing it. You just got to tell him. And just got to give him the knowledge, and he'll take the knowledge and run with it.
One of the other freshmen that played really well Saturday in Buffalo was Jalen Sellers. Hard to put a guy in his situation as the defender primarily on Janathan Williams.
Yep.
Another one of the guys who's going to be first-team all-conference in this league. What did he do well in terms of guarding Janathan Williams that maybe you wouldn't expect to see from a freshman?
I would tell you I come to expect it from him at this stage of the game because he's been that guy for us for the last month, and he's been our best perimeter defender. But
did you expect that in him when he got here?
No, it was very similar to Peyton. As we knew his reputation. His high school coach raved about him from a work ethic standpoint. His high school coach is a rock star, stand-up guy. If he says it, you can take it to the bank as being honest. And so we knew we expected to get that kind of kid coming in here, but he's just really worked. I mean, the amount of time he puts on the court, the amount of time he spends in the film room. He's in Coach Smith's office constantly watching film on different players, picking up tendencies, and very coachable. And so he's much like I would have said about Peyton. He's just going to keep getting better because his process is so on point.
Somebody else that I thought played a really good game, I don't know if it flew under the radar, but he's just very quiet, so maybe it does. But Saturday at Buffalo was Demarius.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that we've talked about needing to sometimes be more aggressive for you guys.
Yeah.
I thought there were some times where he pushed the ball in transition very aggressively, and it led to some easy points. What have you seen from him when he's on, and how do you bring that out on a more consistent basis?
It's a good question, but it's what you said is right. Is he's got to probe and find those moments, and there would have been times earlier in the year where he and I are watching film together, and I'm showing him hey, can you get in there here? Can you get in there here? And trying to find areas where he can get in there. One of the greatest things about Demarius is he's so unselfish by personality, and you love it for your team, and then you got to help him understand that it's. I don't want to use the term selfish because it's not. That's the wrong way to put it. But being more aggressive is sometimes what the team needs, and yet take good shots. But you don't have to tell him that. I could tell him that he's going to do it. Very efficient, and but he's really a great leader. He's just a really high character guy, and I think the challenge for DJ is to really get his process to the highest level in this off season, and be able to come back a year from now the best version of himself, which I think he still has a lot of potential to really take another step forward as a player.
What are those things process-wise for Darius for Demarius that are next up?
He just got to continue to get his skill reps. He's an extraordinarily unselfish player in learning how to really get the grind at the highest level, and he's done that with his body. He's changed his body this spring. He's in the best shape he's ever been in his life. His body fat's the lowest it's ever been. And you watch him, you look at him when he's in the weight room, and you can just see more definition. He's made some real progress in that area, and I think getting one off season to really commit to that to the highest level will will allow him to be the best version of himself next year.
All right, it is Ball State and Northern Illinois Tuesday night inside Worthen Arena. That's a 7 o'clock tip between Ball State and the Huskies. Whit, looking forward to it. Thanks for stopping by.
Got it. Thanks, Joel.
That is head coach James Whitford joining us here on the BirdFeed Live, presented by Varsity House. We'll have more to come next week right back here on these same channels.
This was the Varsity House Bird Feed on the Ball State Gamebridge Network.